The devastation of Annwn was almost complete. King Arthur had not waged war on the dreams and nightmares and fae. He had tricked them, as the Trojans had once been tricked. Andraste had watched her kin crumble into Inspire, then into nothingness. The only thing holding her together was a memory of an affection, a mutual desire that she knew, from her continued existence, Arthur could not quite shake off. She would use it against him, even as her skin flaked away and her movements slowed. She could smell the desperation of some of his followers, not far from the cave where she helped to forge the instrument of her own downfall. There had once been a forest on this mountain, and in the forest a clearing. She could feel the memory of roots and moss beneath her sore fingers as she climbed. All was now bare rock, and even that fell away beneath her feet and hands, making little avalanches. The barren landscape was dangerous. If Arthur saw her, then he would try to obliterate her. She had to hope that he was too caught up in the success of his treachery to mind a single helpless woman. It took many suns to reach the top of the mountain, for Andraste was weary. Her bones cracked. The strength that once flowed through her body was deserting her. Every breath was an expulsion of her life force. At the top, she allowed herself to stop and rest, and she looked back over the landscape of the world which she once ruled. Nothing could be seen but grey. The towers and encampments that used to litter the countryside were gone. So were the beasts and creatures that had roamed there. She looked out over the sea and saw that the empires beyond were crumbling too, beneath the onslaught of Arthur's power. His reach stretched south, to the ancestral homeland where all stories began. It stretched to the west and to the east, where the stories told in distant cultures were kith to the stories told here, their common threads woven into her sinews. All was dying. It was time to move, but Andraste's limbs had lost their strength. Arthur was killing her last, a final cruelty to the goddess he had promised to worship for a lifetime and beyond. She closed her eyes and sent out a plea to the people nearby. They heard her, thin though her call was. The knights Lancelot, Bedivere, Palamedes, Gawain, and Dagonet crested the top of the mountain. They had discarded their helmets, and their faces were worn and worried. Palamedes was the oldest of the knights, but Lancelot looked the weariest. Andraste could feel the threads of Nimue inside him, winding around those of her brother Lure, the muse and the warrior, united. Lancelot had come to Annwn an ingenue, delighting in all that it had to offer, loving the nightmares even though he fought them. Andraste saw him as a young boy, his mind not set in the patterns that had taken hold of Palamedes, and that were even now taking hold of young Bedivere. She felt his grief over what had happened here as a bolster to her fading existence. He had made the choice, though he didn't know it yet.
"My lady,"
Bedivere knelt before her.
"We did not know. I am sorry for what has happened. You summoned us, my lady, did you not?"
Palamedes said, his voice deep and urgent.
"Is there something that we can do? Some way of reversing this?"
Dagonet laughed bitterly. "Reverse it? How? How can we remake a world when he has such power? We may as well throw ourselves off these rocks and dash our brains out on that grey stuff below. If he can destroy it in an instant, then surely it can be remade," Gawain said. "The other knights may have followed Arthur, but we remain true to our oaths. We swore to protect this land, and we do not see its destruction as protecting it. We remain true to Annwn, not to him." Andraste smiled weakly. "I know. That is why I called you. My love betrayed me and the Fae, but there is a way back. Not in your living memory, but there have been other times when Annwn has been on the brink of destruction."